So today I'll be walking you through a use case in Mowgli. So before we get started, I just want to mention that you can start from an existing Figma design. We're going to cover the start from scratch case where you don't have any design files or anything like this. But just to mention, there is a case where there is a workflow where you can also start from an existing file, which could be good if you want to import branding and icons and style guides and everything like this. So getting started in the building an app from scratch case. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a consultant working for a client that is a music streaming company where I've essentially had a meeting with them and I have now a transcript of the meeting report. So I'm going to copy paste this into Mowgli as initial context. So you can really put whatever context that makes sense from you here. And what happens after that is that Mowgli will generate some questions for you. Now, the questions that are coming are really depending on what kind of context you put in there. So if you spend a lot of effort giving Mowgli a lot of context, we might not have as many questions for you, but really it all depends on what you put in there. So for example, common things that usually come up are edge case handling, making sure we understand the intended audience, making sure we really cover all the user flows, and really go deep into the details. The interesting thing about this step is that people usually haven't actually thought their project through quite often. So this really serves as a kind of like whiteboarding, brainstorming session for them as well, and a thought partner. And then we go ahead and regenerate the spec. Now the specification is really a PRD, so product requirements document, and it always has user journeys, data model, and the front end screens. I'm gonna scroll through here a little bit so you see. So the user journeys are usually the core thing to review, which is essentially all the flows a user has in the application you're building. And the way Mowgli works is that we then generate a couple of initial designs for you. Now, these are not set in stone. This is just a starting point. So you should really just pick the one that speaks the most to you. So here we're looking through a couple. We had a light mode one there, and here we have a dark mode with a couple of crazy colors. And here's a little bit more muted one in dark mode. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that one. And after that, Mowgli will generate all the screens for you in this theme. So just to kind of anchor you a little bit here. So what we see here is the different states for your entire product. So on the left-hand side, we have all the different screens that exist within your application from your PRD. And everything within the current view are all the different states for a given screen. Now, because we have spent so much time into understanding your full PRD, we're able to actually flesh out all the different screens and states for your entire application. We're going to go ahead and make some changes here, but just to show you a little bit of them. So we have a couple of different screens here. Now, switching over to an example. So we also have a spec view, which is what you see on the left here. And in this example, on my dashboard screen here, I want to add a way to chat with AI on whatever's going on my dashboard. And whenever Mowgli makes a change, we will update the spec and the designs in parallel, so they always stay in sync. So you can see here, we managed to get a chat window on the right, and we also see that the spec has updated, which is kind of like your normal git diff view, really, where you see if anything was removed or added. So here we've actually added a full flow, which is in the user journey. We also have some updates to the data model, which is just following whatever we change. So if you feel like making changes to the spec, you can chat in the spec view, but you can also make changes through the design. And whatever you choose to do, it will just follow. So spec change will also impact the designs. Now, whenever you're done with your designs, and really this might take a little bit of time because you might send this around to stakeholders, you might make more changes, it really depends on your use case, you can export your project. We have exporting to Figma as an option, and we also have export as code. Now, when you choose the code option, one thing to note here is that whatever you see in Mowgli actually is rendered code already. So we don't have our own design format. It really is rendered code. With the download, you're going to get the code and the spec, and you can just plug it into an agent and get going.